Hello and welcome to the Ilene Silverman Show. I'm your host Ilene, and on this week's program, our guests discuss Writers Alliance of Gainesville, their many programs, educational opportunities, and community outreach to local readers. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Thanks for joining us for our program. Since 2009, the Writers Alliance of Gainesville has been dedicated to supporting writers in our community. To tell us more, I'm pleased to introduce my guest, Kim Mullins, President of Writers Alliance of Gainesville, and Susie Baxter, past President of WAG. And Kim and Susie, it's wonderful to have you both join us.
Nice to be here.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I have learned so much about this organization and what an important part of our community that you play. And both of you are authors. So tell me, Susie, you have two books in front of me here. Tell me their titles.
Well, this is Pumping Sunshine, my most recent memoir, and that's what I write, is memoir.
Okay. I understand. So very personal. Mm-hmm. And Kim, what about you?
Well, I have two of my books here. This one is In the Company of Strangers, and this other one is The Friends of Family Connection, Get Unplugged. They're both fiction, contemporary fiction novels.
Right.
Yes.
And wait, what is your pen name?
It's K.E. Mullins.
Okay, got it. And how long have you been writing? What about you, Kim?
I've been writing for about 10 years now.
Okay.
A little over 10 years.
And here you are president of WAG, so how long have you been a member?
I've been a member a little over 4 years.
Okay. Yes. And Susie, how long have you been writing?
I joined when the organization came to be in 2009.
So you've been with them ever since.
Right. There
Okay.
was not any organization like this at the time. You know, Gainesville had lots of other things like live theater and music
Right.
and choral groups, but there was nothing for writers. So this kind of filled that void.
Right, and just give us a little of that backstory, 2009, how it all came to pass.
Well, there were writers who were traveling great distances to go to conferences and workshops and learn about writing, and they just decided Gainesville needs its own group. So,
right.
Wendy Thornton and Cal Rosenberg were two of the people who got it started
Initiated
in 2009. Yes.
Well, okay, you started with maybe 50 members?
50.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And now how many members do you have?
I have approximately 180 members now.
Oh,
yes.
Congratulations. So
Thank
that's
you.
a lot of people involved. And tell us a little about the membership. All different people writing at different points in their life.
Right. You don't have to even be a writer. You just have to have an interest in the written word. We've got beginning writers. We've got people who've published several books, and so we have programs for all different sorts of
people that even that are helping you with maybe how to edit or market or all the different facets of of writing.
Yeah.
Because it seems to me writing is sort of a solitary
Oh, yes.
profession.
Right.
It's you and your written word. So
Right.
this is a great opportunity to network, to be together with people.
Right.
And you have an enormous amount of programs, all well, presented on your website. But, you work with the community too. I know, Kim, that's something that you find very valuable. Tell us about some of that aspect of WAG.
Well, actually, we have several community outreach programs we do. Right now, at the main library, we have the Writers
Outreach program.
Outreach program going on with local members from WAB actually speak about their books. They give a presentation, and they have their books available for sale, and they tell them about their journey, how they got there.
Well, I think everybody sharing their story would be very important and give a lot of confidence to people just coming on board. Do you find a lot of new writers, is it kind of growing? A lot of new writers coming on who maybe just retired and say, now I have the time to write, or, how do you work all this into your lives? You're dedicated.
Right. But with some of our programs, like our pods, that gives people a chance to bounce ideas off each other. Yes.
Right, and talk together.
And Kim has a program she started over on the east side of Gainesville.
Tell us about it.
A little about that.
Oh, actually, other than writing fiction, I do poetry also, and
Okay.
I did work with the Rikers House with the young
outstanding.
boys over there, and getting their poetry and getting their words on paper and expressing themselves, along with the Girls' Place.
Oh, well, okay. First, two wonderful nonprofits in our community, all that would benefit from mentors like yourself, Kim, and maybe others in WAG and I'm sure that putting their thoughts on paper would be very valuable to their life experience.
It is. Very much
So, congratulations on doing that.
And at
Yes.
last year in December, we did we collected books and
Oh, that's
took them
right.
to Peaceful Paths.
Right, another wonderful part of our community. So you're interacting in many valuable ways. And I congratulate you. We have so much more to cover. We're going to take a quick break. Stay with us. We'll be right back. We're back talking about Writers Alliance of Gainesville, and I'm pleased to introduce Darlene Marshall, member of WAG. And Darlene,
Thank you, Eileen.
great to have you here, and thank you.
Oh, it's great to be here. I love talking about writing, and WAG is such a great local organization, particularly for someone like myself who leads a very solitary life as a writer.
True.
Getting out at least once a month and being with other writers that way, and being in the sessions where we get good workshops and we have guest speakers come in, and sometimes just the feedback you get from other writers.
Right. It's stimulating.
It's
I would
very
think.
valuable.
Right.
Very valuable.
Yes. Well, how long have you been a member of WAG?
I've been a member of WAG for not long enough, just a few years. I'd say I've been a member now for about 5-6 years.
Okay.
And at first I wasn't sure that WAG would be the right fit for me because I write historical romance and I didn't know of any other authors in my genre who were in WAG.
Yeah, right.
But what I found when I started going to the meetings was what was really valuable was not what genre you were writing or whether you were writing fiction or nonfiction.
Right.
What was valuable for me was the interaction with the other authors.
And probably even to your benefit that there were different aspects of writing and
Oh, yes.
even more, greater networking. Because for how long have you been writing and how many romance have you already written up at this point?
I've had 7 romances published.
7 romances.
I have finished an
congrats.
8th novel, which is with my agent, and I'm working on number 9. We're kind of like sharks. We have to keep swimming or we die.
Well, and congratulations because you've received many numerous awards for your writing.
Thank you.
So I think that's, to your credit. But as you said, humorously, there's only your dog to talk to, and
Yes.
and the feedback's
Yes.
not great there.
She is not. She's not good. Sometimes she looks at me. Sometimes she just licks herself. So she's not a helpful critic at all. She's terrible with grammar.
So what is it like then to be part of the local author series? Because I know that you have given readings and spoken as part of that, which WAG does. So give us some ideas about how that is.
That was a very valuable opportunity for me, and I really appreciated WAG extending that invitation. As a local author, when I can go out and do a presentation at Headquarters Library, as I did that Sunday, I can talk about the writing process. I can talk about my writer's journey, but it was also, quite frankly, an opportunity to sell my books.
Right,
And
that's
I need
important too.
that.
True.
So that too was good. And as it happened, the book I was reading from that day and talking about was a novel, The Bride and the Buccaneer, that's set in North Central Florida. So it was especially fun to be able to talk about doing the research for that book and bringing it to the library.
Right, and having people kind of pop in their ideas.
Exactly.
Yes, and that's one of the valuable programs of WAG. I know there's, many. There's the Speakers Bureau. How is that organized?
The Speakers Bureau offers speakers for different organizations. A lot of times organizations are looking for guest speakers. They may have monthly meetings and they are running out of program ideas. And WAG can offer professional authors who are members of WAG, who can talk about their writing careers, who can talk about research. For example, I do talks on women pirates called Good Girls Go to Heaven, but Bad Girls Go to Sea. And I have talked about researching pirates in Florida. And there are just many people in WAG, not me, but many other people,
Right.
who can speak on all kinds of amazing things. Cracker architecture.
Right.
One of our writers with us today.
Right.
That's
Ron
his
Hauser,
specialty.
yes.
So we have a lot of people who can talk about how to write memoirs, how to write poetry, how to write for young readers, how to get started as a writer. And that's one of the valuable services that our Speakers Bureau can offer. Is
Right.
to send out people who can do these kinds of presentations, because we want to encourage anybody who's ever thought about writing
Yes,
for her own pleasure or for anyone else's pleasure, for profit or just for fun, to join us at WAG.
Right.
It
You
is
want to
not-
grow your membership
Exactly.
and invite people to be a part of this circle of writers.
It is not all one thing.
Right.
It is just about the written word. That's what WAG is all about. So if you've ever thought about writing, if you've ever wanted to get more help for your writing, just to
WAG
please
can help
yourself,
you.
WAG
Right.
can definitely help you.
Right. Well said, Darlene. And we're going to take a quick break. So stay with us. We'll be right back. We're discussing Writers Alliance of Gainesville, and I'm pleased to introduce Ron Haase, retired UF professor of architecture, a member of WAG, and an author. And Ron, welcome to you.
Good to be with you, Ilene.
Thanks. And you've brought two of your books.
Two of my books.
Yes. What do you have
One
here?
of them called Classic Cracker. It's been a very popular book for me.
Excellent.
About North Florida architecture, and my more recent book called The Last House, which is a piece of fiction, which is a different approach
genre.
than my first one.
Right, but I can see where it all fits into what you know and love.
Right.
From-
Write about what you know, and that's, I think, what we all try to do, or what we're better at.
I would agree. When did you start writing?
Well, I guess I've been a writer technically for some time, and as a professor of architecture, of course, you're writing
It all
all the
fits.
time.
Right.
I used to work for the Ford Foundation, and that brought me to writing quite a bit, publications about schoolhouse architecture.
So these are all different valuable points of view you can bring to WAG.
Yes.
And I know that, tell us about, and speaking of that, WAG and their educational pods, because I know that's something you're very interested in, or critique pods.
The pods are a fantastic component of WAG, and they're really what brought me to it, was the idea of sitting down with 6 or 8 people in a
Right.
small group, discussing the work that each of us are doing, giving a sample, maybe 600 pages out of my last house book, to those 6 members. They digest it, come back with a review of it, harsh criticism,
Yeah.
praise, whatever it might be. It's all helpful. And so the
Right.
pods, for me, are the most exciting thing about WAG.
Well, how many pods are there? Are they different aspects of writing?
Well, there are
or-
pods for poetry, there are pods for short stories, there are pods for nonfiction. Something that's
Okay.
very popular right now is memorabilia, and those pods are there's maybe 6 or 7 of those.
Oh.
They're full up all the time. Short
Interesting.
stories, which is what I'm writing now, a little bit lean on pods. I'm looking for a new one
we
to
need
join.
to get more people to join,
Yeah.
right? Which, of course, you're inviting people to join WAG, and I can see where it's a benefit in many ways. How often do you meet in your
Once
pod?
a month,
Okay.
and the monthly meetings are also the other part of WAG that I appreciate very much. Great topics, great speakers
Right.
coming in. Sometimes there are members. I gave a talk myself recently about publishing my recent book called The Good, the Bad, and the Surprising about self-publishing.
Right,
I
well,
know,
that would be important knowledge for
Darlene,
people out
who you
there.
spoke to,
Yes.
she's recently presented. Roz is always active in that group.
Excellent. Roz Miller.
Roz Miller, who's very active in our group, and she organizes our meetings and gets speakers who help us all understand what we can do better in our writing to educate
Right.
us and encourage us in our work.
Right. So I can see how that is really beneficial. And we were talking to Darlene and Susie and Kim just about networking and how important that is.
Absolutely.
And for you too. And then you also have marketing workshops. So what are they about?
Well, we have a group that's studying marketing and comes out periodically with reports that help us all. We've also started something new called beta reading.
Oh,
Beta
yeah,
readers,
tell us.
which is giving an opportunity for someone to take a piece of your work and read it in its complete form and come back to you with a review and critique of it. The pods are different. The pods do
Okay.
little segments, and it's a slow process, but a very effective process. Beta readers is
It's
like
different.
take the big chunk and come back to you almost as an editor would, and help you appreciate how your work is working well, how it might need a little.
A tweaking. And
Yeah,
in the beta
tweaking.
reader, how many people might take that work? Is it a one-on-one?
It's a one-on-one
Okay.
situation. We're just starting at. It might evolve into something different, but right now it's a one-on-one situation.
Okay, and you have an excellent website. Your marketing, your website, all your Facebook.
great people.
Yes, you're doing some wonderful social media. I can
The
see.
board of our group is a great, wonderful group. You met several of them
Yes,
today.
all good volunteers.
I'm just a member and appreciating the services that I can get from my membership.
Right, because there might be a third novel coming out.
There
that
could
you'll
be.
working.
Right now
Yes,
it's
you
short
said you're
stories
working
I'm
on
working
short
on.
stories.
Short
So we're going to have to
stories.
wait for that next.
Yeah.
And we're going to take a quick break. Stay with us. We'll be right back. We're back discussing Writers Alliance of Gainesville, and I'm pleased to introduce Roz Miller, Program Coordinator for WAG. And Roz, thank you for joining us also.
Oh, it's such a pleasure to always be here and to bring information to your viewers that can be valuable to them. And as a writing group, we are filling a major void in our cultural crown in Gainesville.
Oh,
That's what I
agree.
like to call this community, because this is such a culturally rich community.
Yes.
And we had performing arts, musical arts, visual arts, but the literary arts was missing. And so the WAG, the Writers Alliance of Gainesville,
Right.
fills that void.
And beautifully so. And thank you for bringing such wonderful guests, informative, talented guests to our Ilene Silverman show. And you're pursuing writing. Tell me about that for a second.
Well, I'm a freelance writer. Also written some plays. And we all have stories to tell. And we
Yes.
like reading stories. And it's amazing what can be developed and can be created, whether it's in prose or in poetry.
Right, and you never know what is within people that WAG might just bring to light for all of us to benefit from.
And writing is worldwide.
That's
It is-
true.
It's not just local, it is worldwide. And because of that, our writing journal,
Right, I was
The
going to say.
Bacopa?
Yes, tell us about it. A wonderful literary journal.
this was started in 2010.
Okay.
And it started locally, just with local submissions. But now, we are getting submissions worldwide.
I mean, outstanding.
And all of the
Congratulations.
And all of the submissions are judged on a blind judging.
All right.
We never know who the judges are. And we give prizes in 4 categories. And it's just a wonderful way of furthering the written word and having international fame for it.
Right. I mean, that is just something that, well, I know every WAG member is very, and rightly so, very proud of. And your other brochure is beautiful also, just to inform people in the community about WAG. Tell us about that. It's well done.
Can be had around town, and
Right,
it gives
right.
information about WAG, and so that people who are interested in writing, they can come and join.
Right. When do you meet?
We meet twice on the second Sunday of the month,
Okay.
unless otherwise stated. And we meet in
Oh,
the afternoon on a Sunday.
Okay, right.
At the Millhopper Library.
Excellent. All right.
Going back to Pacopa for just a
Okay,
second.
certainly. Tell me.
Contest is a great springboard for writers worldwide to get started into their writing professions. And so this is
So
a
it's a good springboard,
to a
right.
lot of writers, yes.
And one other thing, we've talked about a lot of your outreach opportunities, but tell me about art festivals. You often have a presence there.
We certainly do. We have had a booth in art festivals, and it's a way of bringing readers and writers together, because so many times the people in the community don't know what good writers we have, and they
I
don't know
agree.
that their neighbors and their friends and their coworkers may be writing on the side.
Right.
And this is just a way of introducing them, and it's another good springboard for writers to start building their following.
Right, their audience, and for readers and writers to get to link together. And I agree with what you're saying. We have such a culturally rich community in North Central Florida, and knowing more about those excelling in writing right here, our neighbors, as you said, our friends, really does enrich us, because it's another aspect of this community that many can be a part of and may not even realize that the opportunity is there.
And the way that the public can connect with writers is through joining WAG.
All right.
We have something that is called the Digest, the WAG Digest,
Right.
and that comes out every other month. And it's a great resource for writers, giving much information, and also the website.
Oh, yes, it's
The
excellent.
website has a wealth of information about when we meet, about our meetings, about the programs, the speakers, and we have an archive that can be resourced even after the program has taken place.
Oh, excellent. There are so many positive things, and I want to thank you and all of our guests for telling us important aspects and information about Writers Alliance of Gainesville. Thank you, Roz.
Thank you.
And to all our guests. And I'm so glad that you tuned in, and I hope you'll join us next week. Take care.